In a previous video, we started the Mendelian modes of inheritance, and this video will talk specifically about the autosomal dominant disorders. So let's start with the video. What do you understand by the autosomal dominant disorders? So the defect is in the dominant gene, which will definitely express itself in the heterozygous condition. So autosomal dominant disorders, the chances of occurrence in male and female is equal. So chances of occurrence in the male and female are of equal, and disorders can occur in heterozygous condition as well. Disorder can be manifested in heterozygous condition. Means the male and female are equally affected because it is affecting the autosomes or the somatic chromosomes. If the sex chromosomes are affected, the case will be different. But if the autosomes are affected, the chances of occurrence in male and female is equal, and the disorder can be manifested in heterozygous condition as well. So if there is homozygous condition, there is obvious thing is that it will be that disorder will appear. But if there is heterozygous condition as well, the disorder can be manifested as well. Now there are some particular features about the autosomal dominant disorders that you must know. The very first feature includes the one basic point, that is it affects the structural proteins. Depending upon the function of proteins, we divide the proteins into different categories. First one is called the structural proteins, and that is called the enzymatic proteins. We have further subdivisions that we are not discussing here. That's a part of the biochemistry. So the autosomal dominant disorders affect the structural proteins and not the enzymatic proteins. Structural proteins are affected. And male and female are equally affected. Why? Because the autosomes are being affected. In the case of autosomal dominant disorders, 50% of the progeny is affected. So if there is a mating between a deceased father and a mother, and they are mating, then the chances of that the 50%, 4 children are there, then at least 2 will be affected. So 50% of the progeny is affected in the case of the autosomal dominant disorders. There is incomplete penetrance, and there is one more term that is called the variable expressivity. So let's understand these two terms. These two terms are very simple, but just you have to keep certain things in mind. Suppose 100 persons are getting affected by this autosomal dominant disorders. Okay, that is there is genetic change in 100 individual, but you will find that only suppose 80 are getting affected or showing the symptoms. If they change in the genetic constitution of 100 individual, only 80 are showing there that particular disease. That is called the incomplete penetrance, because the disease has not penetrated all the 100 persons or affected all the 100%. That's why here the penetrance is incomplete. Complete penetrance is also there, that we'll be discussing in the next part or in the next video. What to understand with the variable expressivity? Suppose out of this 80%, some may be very mildly affected, some may be moderately affected, or some may be severely affected. Means even if they are getting the symptoms are not same. Some may be mild, moderate, or some may be severely affected. This is called the variable expressivity, which is a feature of autosomal dominant disorder. So what we learn in the autosomal dominant disorder is that as it is affecting the autosomes, chances of occurrence in male and female is equal. Disorder can be manifested in heterozygous condition as well, because it is a dominant trait. And structural proteins are affected. We have divided proteins into according to function, structural, enzymatic, and other such proteins. So it is affecting the structural proteins, and 50% of the progeny is affected. There is incomplete penetrance, means if 100 are getting a change in the genetic constitution, then 80 are only showing the symptoms. This is called incomplete penetrance. And the expressivity of the disease or the severity of disease is different in different cases. Some may be mildly affected, some moderately, or other may be severely affected. The chart over here you can see, it's called a pedigree chart that shows the history of the familial, you can more precisely the familial history of a disease. Here the squares are signifying the male, circle is signifying the female, and this is red color, it is showing the affected male or the affected female respectively. The line joining the square and a circle, that's male and female, signifying the marriage between the two, and the next generation are shown by the similarly flowchart type pattern. Keeping this basic knowledge in mind, let's analyze this pedigree chart. This diagram shows a pedigree chart of suppose some disorders that we don't know. So we have to trace out the which type of disorder it is, autosomal dominant or recessive, or maybe some other type. So we've learned some basic points in autosomal dominant disorder, and first of all we check for autosomal dominant, then rest of the other disorders. So you can see both males and females are equally affected. So this was the first criteria that showed that it is of which autosomal disease, and that is also of dominant type. Now match for one more critical point of the autosomal dominant disorder, that is 50% of the progeny is affected. So let's see the third generation. First case, out of 2, 1 is affected, that is at least 50% affected. Then you can see in the third generation part 3, out of 4, 2 offsprings are affected. As you can see, 50% of the progeny is affected. This is a case of autosomal dominant disorder. You can match by one more point. In what happens in autosomal dominant, at least one of the parent is affected. So here you can add one more point in your theory, that it is showing vertical inheritance. Autosomal dominant disorder show vertical inheritance. That means at least one of the parent is affected in this case. So this point I missed in the theory part, so you can add now. Here you can see in each generation at least one parent is affected. So before we discuss about the examples, there is one more point you must understand. So if there is a change in the genetic constitution, there may be some loss of function, or there may be some gain of function. So if there is suppose AAGACA is changing into AACACA. So as they change in the genetic constitution, this can lead to a loss of function or a gain of function. Okay, so in most of the cases, or in the case of the autosomal dominant disorders, loss of function mutation means this change will lead to the inexpression or the unexpression of this gene. Loss of function mutation is always greater than the gain of function mutation. So these all points you must know about the autosomal dominant disorder. And let's talk about the example. We have a plethora of example to remember, but don't worry, we have a trick as well. So here is the plethora example that I was telling you about. So examples trick to remember is, he has a very dominant father. Okay, so only the capitals letters will be focusing. He stands for, or the word S stands for Huntington's disease. Again, S stands for hereditary spherocytosis, autosomal polycystic kidney, VWD and VHL, dystrophia myotonica. We have the O stand for osteogenesis imperfecta, then M stand for Marfan syndrome, intermittent porphyria. Then we have the neurofibromatosis 1, neurofibromatosis 2, achondroplasia, tuberous sclerosis, and the familial hypercholesterolemia. This is very important from the examination point of view, and it is usually asked examiner in detail. So we will discussing in some of the disease in detail which is given in the Robbins, and talking about each of them according to the Robbins. So Huntington disease, the hereditary spherocytosis, autosomal polycystic kidney, these are caused by different factors. Some of them we will be discussing, like the familial hypercholesterolemia. It is due to the defect in the LDL receptor. Then Marfan syndrome is due to defect in the fibrillin protein. Hereditary spherocytosis is due to the change in the spectrin protein, which is responsible for the red blood cell membrane integrity, or the structural strength of the red blood cell membrane. This neurofibromatosis 1 is due to the defect in the neurofibromin 1 protein. fibromin, hence the name neurofibromatosis 1. Protein is affected, which is helpful in the growth regulation. Then this autosomal polycystic kidney, which is usually affecting the adults. So A for autosomal dominant and A for adults. So the adult autosomal polycystic kidney, it is due to the which protein? The name, as the name suggests, polycystin 1. Okay, so these are some of the diseases given Robbins. So we're looking at last the table, and we'll discussing the separate disease, some of them in detail as per the Robbins. So if you like the video, please hit the like button and do subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.